Welcome back to First at 4, and each month Chattanooga Mayor Andy Berke joins us to discuss some of the big issues facing the city. Mayor, we appreciate you being here again today.
Glad to be with you.
You're about as big a music fan as anybody I know, and I know it had to break your heart as it did mine and many others to see Songbirds close. The locals loved it, tourists loved it, then of course Riverbend, Moon River, all these great festivals canceling their plans. And it takes not just so much of our culture away from us, it also takes a lot of money away, frankly, from the city. How do you react to that?
I think this is going to be a challenge for us going forward, but not just us, but all cities. Over the last few years, one of the things I've said over and over again is it's about these great experiences that people have when they come together. That's been an essential part of being in the city, and right now we just can't do that. And I don't know when we're going to be able to do that again. It's changing our economy, it's changing the economies of cities around the country, and we're going to have to adapt to that. Hopefully after a vaccine we'll be able to go back, but I feel terrible for Songbirds and the people who work there. We want to see them succeed.
And even our Memorial Auditorium, Tivoli, Walker Theater, gosh, they were doing so well before all this hit. I mean, more shows than I recall in my lifetime.
Yeah, one of the things I was most proud of as mayor was forming the Tivoli Foundation and turning over the assets to them, and we'd seen the number of shows, and therefore the experiences that people were able to enjoy just multiplied by many-fold, and we just can't do that right now.
What can people do when we're talking about the Tivoli, the Auditorium, the Walker Theater? Obviously, we want them to continue and prosper once all this is behind us. What can we as citizens do now to support them?
Well, I would urge anyone to contribute to the Tivoli Foundation. It is a nonprofit that runs those entities. And if you think about the struggling people who are working there, they really need our support. And I know the city, even though we're not seeing those acts coming to the venues, we're still supporting them in whatever way we can.
And we were talking during the break about Nikki's closing. Can't even go there. It's going to make me crave onion rings. But hopefully those folks will do all right. And who knows, maybe a new Nikki's will spring up somewhere. Yeah. Let's move on to River City. New CEO. And of course, the city works hand in hand with River City. A lot of things get done because of that partnership. Are you familiar with the new person, Emily Mack, and what's going to happen perhaps in the future?
Well, all I've had is a phone conversation with her. She seemed wonderful when I spoke to her as she was going through the process. This is a really important position for the mayor, and we want to work with the person who's running River City. But back to our earlier point, David, that you were making, and that is we don't know what downtowns are going to look like. We're going to have lots of restaurants that are struggling, shops and places like that. So the new head of River City is going to have to make sure that our downtown can recover, and particularly that all the employees that make their way off of downtown can come back to work.
And obviously you want things to reopen, we all do, and we've seen in the headlines the last couple of days that Finley Stadium, which has struggled mightily this year, is trying to get back in the game, literally, with some events coming up. Is that going to work, and how's it going to work?
Well, let me just point out that a couple days ago, the Hamilton County Health Department said that the number one thing that was driving our coronavirus cases were big events. And so anytime you have hundreds of people together, you got to worry about what that means for our cases. And personally, I want schools to be able to open and to operate. And right now they're struggling, as you can see, because of the number of cases that we're having in our community. We just have to lower our infection rate so kids can go to school and our economy can flourish.
And when I think of high school football games, I think of crowds. I think of students kind of crunched in together, cheering and having a good time. We are going to play high school football at Brainerd, Howard, and our various other city fields. Are you concerned about that? Do you have any suggestions?
I get concerned about a lot of these things. We want to make the best plans possible. And I would say this is not just about football, but about all the things that we do. Is if we want our schools to succeed, we have to prioritize them. We have to prioritize our economy and the success of people there. And if we aren't able to make sacrifices in other places so that we reduce our case count, then we're just not going to be able to see schools open and flourish like we want.
When I heard you were going to be here today, I asked some Facebook friends, what do you want me to ask the mayor? And one thing that came up was 311, brush pickup. Since the tornado in March, there have been instances in which brush has remained on people's yards and on the curbs for weeks, months, without getting picked up. What's the solution on that? When are we going to get past that?
Yeah, well, we had a large contract with a provider that we used to pick up a lot of the brush that came from the tornado, but there's also been some instances where some of the contractors that have been used out there have said that the city is going to do things that the city is not supposed to do, and in fact is the responsibility of the landowner. So I would urge anybody to contact us. Feel free not just to call 311, but you can call my office and we'll try to make sure that we figure it out.
All right, finally, gosh, it's easy to point out things that have gone wrong this year. That's kind of the what we think of when we think of 2020 is things that have gone wrong. After experiencing this for the past 5 months and seeing the ups and downs, here we are on August 19th. What are you seeing that makes you smile, things that are going right in the middle of this?
Well, thanks for asking me about something that makes me smile, David, because we spent a lot of time talking about what's wrong in 2020, and we need to spend some time talking about what's right. So let me just say a couple of things. Number one is the HCS Ed Connect. We are going to be the first community in the country to provide internet at no cost to every family with a child on free or reduced lunch. That is transformative. That is where Chattanooga is out in the lead. The second thing I'll say is we began the year with Forbes magazine saying that we were going to be the #1 city in the country for job growth. Obviously that has not happened because of coronavirus, but the same things that were in place before coronavirus are still in place now, and our community has always come together to overcome challenges. I see that happening every day, and I want to thank the people out there who are thinking about their neighbor and making sure people are supported.
Well, as we've said many times, you've got a tough job right now. We appreciate you hanging in there and making the best of a bad situation, and we'll look forward to talking with you again soon.
Thank you.
Chattanooga Mayor Andy Berke.